Alright, what's going on guys? My name is Omega, welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I just want to give you guys some updates on developer comments for some future legend changes. As you guys know, we got the Genesis patch notes just a couple days ago. There's a lot of controversy there from people who are either upset at what was getting changed or people who were upset at what wasn't getting changed. I mean, that's literally what happens every single time. But developers have made a bunch of comments on things they're working on behind the scenes. Wanted to keep you guys updated in this video just so you know exactly what's going on. So first off, we have a tweet from Ryan Rigney regarding the Duo Q no fill issue. He said that their engineers think that they have now solved the problem and that's going to be ready for 9.1. Again, this is like beating a dead horse like over and over, man. We talked about this so many times. I'm not 100% sure that this is going to be the last time that we talk about this. Hopefully they did finally fix the issue, but I wouldn't be surprised if it pops up again in about a week. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. Now, as you guys know from the patch notes, Wattson got an amazing major buff that is obviously what every Wattson fan was asking for.
All the bad things I've done and the people I've hurt.
No, this was like a complete troll, almost like a slap in the face. And if you guys remember a video I did about a month ago, I talked about how developers were basically saying they had no plans of changing Wattson whatsoever. They were showing all of this data, saying why Wattson was already super strong, why they weren't going to change her. Well, now according to Daniel Klein, he said this about Wattson. He said, yeah, we're working on stuff, no ETA because it's still very exploratory, but goals would be to make it more in the moment fun and powerful to play Wattson while removing some of the invisible power, because as I keep saying, Wattson does sport very high win rates. And when Daniel Klein says invisible power, he's basically talking about the fact how an enemy team might not push your Wattson because they see her fences. Wattson might never know that this is happening, which is why it's called invisible power. But again, one of the main problems people have with Wattson is she's not that fun to play, and let's be honest, invisible power doesn't really feel that rewarding or accomplishing, so I think that's one of the big things that they're looking to change. Now, what could this mean? Potentially they could add something where you're able to turn your fences like on or off. This would at least give you the option to keep that invisible power on Wattson, or to make a riskier play just by keeping the fences off and maybe trying to turn them on when an enemy is finally pushing you. I think that might be one good change and would definitely be a good start. They could also make it so that Wattson could place like multiple fences at once, maybe to even form like shapes, like she can use all of her nodes at one time to just form like a square of fences around the enemy, just to make it a little easier and faster to place down her fences. I think the other big issue is just reducing the cooldown that her nodes actually respawn. Obviously when you have your ultimate up, that's not really a problem, but when you're in the middle of a fight without your ultimate, your fences just take so long to come back. So I think either one of those or a combination of all those would be some good changes for Wattson, but again, that's probably not going to be coming for quite some time. And according to Josh Medina, Horizon is another legend that has some changes in the works. If you guys don't know, Horizon in the last patch got a pretty decent nerf where they reduced her lift speed by 30% and also reduced the side-to-side acceleration when she's sitting at the top of her lift, and also increased the cooldown of her tactical from 15 seconds to 20 seconds. Now, these were some pretty big nerfs to Horizon. I don't really think she needed all this, and especially now that Valk is in the game and Valk can basically hover in the air faster than Horizon can actually go up using her tactical, there definitely has to be some changes to Horizon just to make her a little bit more on par with the other mobility legends. I would imagine either increasing the speed that she can go up her lift or decreasing the cooldown of her tactical. I think doing one or the other would definitely be a good start and would help with Horizon to be more on par with like Valk, Revenant, as he can now basically scale any building in the game. And as you guys know, Fuse is also currently in the works for some buffs. We don't know when this is actually going to come. Daniel Klein says no ETA as always, but hoping to ship something soon. Hopefully regarding his ultimate, considering that Fuse's ult is a little bit wonky, doesn't really hit his targets all of the time, and it just seems to be more random than a precise ultimate. Now, Caustic is another legend that is going to be getting some changes. According to Daniel Klein, so we've got some stuff cooking for Caustic, but it wasn't ready for this patch. And as you guys know, Caustic had a pretty big nerf to his gas damage. Developers said that right now, Caustic's in a spot where no one's really afraid of his gas, and that is something that they currently want to change. They've talked about possibly adding some sort of debuffs to Caustic's gas, whether that means you might get a healing debuff where you heal like 10% slower. But again, devs did say that they're looking for non-damage outputs to buff Caustic's gas, so let me know if you guys have any ideas on how this could actually be accomplished. Now, next up, I want to go over you guys this thread that was posted by Respawn JBeebs on Twitter. He's one of the live balance designers that works on all of the legend changes, and he basically made a thread explaining the developer thought process through some of these recent patch notes. So in his first tweet, he's talking about Bloodhound, and he said, "Is this change enough to shift the competitive meta? Probably not immediately, but we'll see how things shake out. 25% reduction isn't nothing, and it will hopefully mitigate some of the paralysis victims feel when they're scanned. Bloodhound had a lower pick rate than fellow recon characters Valk and Crypto, and I suspect we're past their peak. I've seen people throw around the idea of only having scans show for the Bloodhound player, but this seems like a very heavy-handed nerf that would undermine Bloodhound's team utility and accessibility for a majority of players. I do like the idea of a flash scan, but some of you may recall the visual clutter it created back in the day. If this change doesn't prove to be enough, we'll consider more options that maintain Bloodhound's friendly learning curve without being too strong at the top end. So it looks like that these Bloodhound changes were mainly just for competitive, which is definitely interesting. We have a couple other legend changes though that he's talking about here. First off being the Revenant and Octane meta. He says, I'm sure we'll see Revenant's pick rate increase with these changes coming alongside his heirloom. This should give y'all plenty of opportunity to share clips of silent Revtanes or Rev ults in general that feel cheap. Reintroducing the range limit hits the fantasy pretty hard, which is why we look to reduce the timer first. I think many frustrations stem from Rev ulted players seemingly appearing out of nowhere. And next up he's talking about Gibraltar, saying, this one's tricky because I have had a hard time thinking about how Bubble could be nerfed in a way that isn't pattern breaking. His overall pick rate is on the low end, and I think making other support and third-party reset characters more enticing could be a better way to keep his pick rate under control in high-level play. And he made one more comment about Wattson, saying that she's gonna get her changes in due time, and also saying thank you for bearing with us. So these are all of the changes that the developers have basically talked about in terms of the legends. I want to quickly just go over a couple more things that developers have talked about. First, let's talk about the Valk ultimate bug. So as you guys know, you've probably seen clips of when teammates use Valkyrie's ultimate, sometimes they just get thrown under the map and insta-die. So this is really weird. We don't know 100% sure what's causing this bug, and according to Daniel Klein, he said, I think that should be fixed. I'll check why the fix didn't make it into the patch notes. Now, this was posted 2 days ago. I went back to his comment. He hasn't provided any update on whether this was actually fixed, so I'm not 100% sure, but be sure to look out for that, whether Valk's ultimate bug is going to be fixed or not. There's also a bug for Loba's ult in arenas, not grabbing loot occasionally, and again, according to Daniel Klein, he said, last I checked, we were still investigating that ult bug. It's not very easy to reproduce, so we don't have the greatest confidence that we know what causes it. And finally, developers are going to be looking into an issue regarding playing controller on PC. Apparently, if you try to b-hop on controller when your monitor is set to 144 FPS, it's almost impossible to do so, but as soon as you change your frames to around 140 or 139, you can b-hop pretty much every single time. So one of the Respawn engineers said he was going to look into this. I don't know if it's going to be ready by 9.1, but just wanted to let you PC controller players know that this is something developers are looking at. So that basically concludes all of the updates that we have for today. As you guys know, we're dropping back into OG King's Canyon and World's Edge tomorrow. Definitely super pumped for that. Let me know if you guys are going to be picking up the Revenant heirloom or any of the new skins in the Genesis Collection event. But until then, I will see you guys all in the next video. Have a great day. Peace.
Won't you save, 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 save me? Won't you save, 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 save me?